What's up, guys? Crazy Black 108 here, and I'm back with another video. Today, guys, we're finally doing something I've been talking about doing for a long time. Something that we experimented with doing back in December, which is we're finally launching the Star Wars podcast, video podcast, video with podcast, video podcast, or podcast, all these different sorts of technical qualifications or how you want to explain it. It's happening. So we're finally here, So this is gonna be one of my best friends, my guy, my co-host, Sean. He is the only other person that I know that I can bring up the most obscure Star Wars reference, from a book or a comic or anything, and he'll pick up on it. And we can just be in conversation with all of our friends and stuff, and something gets said. So I knew when I wanted to do this that there was no better person to ask than Sean. Sean's looking very nice today. I'm over here. I got this hood up because the idiot in me is I'm going to wear a white hat and we're going to be on a white set. Because, I don't understand filmmaking at all, now do I? So, we're going to put this back up just to keep myself safe. But, with a lot of things, people go down the process of trying to figure out what do you name something. And back when we were experimenting with this, we had 2 cameras set up for it, which we will get back to doing. That's a longer story that's not really important for you guys, but we'll get back to that at some point. But back when we did the tests, Sean was in the process of reading Star Wars Thrawn Alliances. Yep. And for anyone that knows that audiobook especially, or just that novel, there's this really great line in it. Sean, I'll let you kind of explain it more.
I love Thrawn. I love the character. Great books, but there's the parts with Anakin when it's first person and he's doing the Force. Anytime, someone's going to be shooting at him, he says, "Double vision," and then he does, reacts to it.
Exactly.
And it's just very funny and almost immersion breaking when you're listening to the audiobook, hearing that. But I just thought that it was perfect since there's 2 of us, What better way to...
Yeah, he walked in tonight because we had been talking about what we were going to name it for a while. When he walked in tonight and said it, I was like, oh, this is genius. Because truthfully, we joke about it all the time. And it's because it's just so funny. So yeah, this is the Double Vision, a Star Wars podcast with your hosts, Adam and Sean. And, we're going to go through a couple different topics and stuff throughout each, podcast video. We're hoping to do this at least every other week. We might try to uptick it to be more weekly and stuff. But, we're going to cover news. We'll cover, right now we got a show out right now, The Bad Batch, so we'll cover that. We'll cover what we're reading. Sean just finished his book today, so I'll probably be, he'll give a recap on his, but I'll be talking about where I'm at in The Rising Storm. Yeah, we'll just kind of go from there. So I think the best place to start is the news. Yep. And I don't know what I'm more excited about. So I think I'm going to start with the thing that we have at least confirmed from StarWars.com. Because there are some other stuff we will talk about that hasn't been confirmed by StarWars.com. So it's not, I don't think the reports are false, but it's one of those things where it's you take it with a grain of salt till you finally get that, Lucasfilm confirmation. Yep. So the thing I'm really excited about, I know you're excited about because we text each other about it, is that Star Wars Battlefront and the original Battlefront 1 and Battlefront 2 are getting a remaster from Aspire, and it's going to be launched on all next-gen consoles. I know PlayStation 5, PS4, Switch, and Xbox Series X. Series X and the Series S as well. Yep. And that's hype.
Yes, I've been waiting for this honestly for so long. I do have it for PC currently, but I had it for PS2 and PC back in 2005, 4, whenever it came out. Honestly, I think Battlefront 2 is probably the game I have the most hours on, and maybe Skyrim is more than that, but it's up there. And
yeah, for myself, it's funny because Battlefront 2, I own it on the Xbox. A friend in grade school gave me their PS2 disc copy of it. But I think they were giving it to me thinking oh, he'll never be able to play it because it was scratched beyond belief. I popped that thing inside my PS3. Some reason I could still read it. So I have it on my I have it for PS2. I have the PSP version of it, and I have the PC version. I play the PC version the least. But, it's Battlefront 2. It's great no matter what console or place you're playing it on, and to be able to now play it on PlayStation with online servers as well too. That's just really hype. Plus, they're adding in all the bonus content that was never before on the
Yes.
PlayStation versions of the game. So like that's like mods are cool, but like that's super exciting.
Yeah.
Because I think it's like Ventress and Kit
Kit
Fisto.
Fisto, yep.
And then
my favorite Jedi growing up, you're either Kit Fisto or
Plo Koon.
Plo Koon, yeah. Kit Fisto or Plo Koon. I was team Kit Fisto, and back in the day, I did not have an Xbox, and I believe that's the only thing he came out on.
Yeah.
And so my friends that had Xbox that did have him, I was always so jealous because I just love Kit Fisto. I think he's so cool.
You know, I've been like a PlayStation guy like my whole life, and I will say that the only time I've ever been jealous of the other consoles really was like PS2 era with Xbox. I was a little bit jealous there because of Halo and online, and then the 360 in some ways I was slightly jealous, but I'm pretty much really I was happy with my choice for the PS3 no matter what. But yeah, that was the thing where like you go over like because I didn't have online at that time, though, even though I did have an Xbox, because we had dial-up, which
yeah.
if there's anyone that's young enough watching this. Dial-up, you couldn't imagine. You think that stuff buffers now. Oh, you have no clue. Absolutely no clue. And so, like, I'm pumped because, like, I just miss having a Star Wars game that I could play online with a lot of people. And Battlefront 2, the EA one, I really do love playing that game, and I really wish it was still getting support, but, like, it's not. And Battlefront 2 2005 has so many more game modes to it, and you have more space battles and
Galactic
stuff.
Conquest. Ooh.
Yeah, like I replaying the 501st story mode piece, like that game. I feel like I know like limited run games probably is going to do a physical release of it, and I know I'm going to want that. And so there's a part of me that goes like, well, I'll just wait for it because I have limited run releases of like. Jedi Apprentice, Jedi Academy, Race of Revenge, Republic Commando. Haven't touched them yet on my PlayStation. But, you know, with this one, I'm thinking, well, maybe I should buy it digitally when it comes out. And then when they do announce the limited run games version of it, like, because I know they're going to end up doing it, I'll play it that way. But, like, dog, it's like, that's super exciting.
Yeah.
And I can't, I think I'm excited for that. I don't think I will very often use the local split screen, but like that's still just so cool to include that feature still because that's not something you really expect game developers really to do anymore. So to have that happen, I think is dope.
I mean, we could do a live stream of that. Me and you doing split screen.
I'm actually would be down for that. That's see, he got the ideas. And sometimes I'm over here just again, you know, I'm over here with this white hat on like a fool. So, but I don't know. Is there anything else you want to say about Battlefront before we move on to another topic?
I mean, in addition to Battlefront 2, I mean, Battlefront, the first one, is also
the Bespin maps. But from what I understand, though, Battlefront 2, because it has the additional content, has the Bespin maps on it too, which it kind of it blew my mind because I never knew that was the case in the first place. I thought people had modded and put those maps back in the game. But I loved the first Battlefront, the Bespin map, specifically for going down to the carbon freezing chamber. And then if you were stood in there sometimes by yourself, you would hear I swear, couldn't you hear Vader breathe?
I think so, yeah.
And that would always come where is he? I don't like this.
Yeah. And then Renvar, I always loved the...
That's right.
Yeah, those. I think there's two of them, two maps. Both of them were very good.
I can't imagine games being made nowadays where you would have a planet and they'd be like, yeah, we're just going to give you two separate maps on this planet. Like, no, it's just one giant map that you explore through different stages of, which is fine. It's not a bad evolution, but I don't know, there's some places where it would make sense. I think Tatooine, for example, it makes sense to have a Mos Eisley map.
Right.
But then if you did have a map that was out by the homesteads, that would make sense, you know, or Tusken Raider, camp, for a team deathmatch sort of thing. I still think I look forward to the day they do a Star Wars Battle Royale game. Because I think it would really work and make sense. I know Disney just had that partnership they did with the company that does Fortnite to do some sort of Disney World, Land. We have all of our properties on this thing.
Yeah.
We'll see how that turns out. But
Right,
like,
yeah.
I'm not holding my breath. But I say that, but like the love they did for the Star Wars piece of when they did like the Order 66 event. Mm-hmm. I can't talk trash because that was actually pretty. That was pretty clean, you know.
Yeah.
But sorry, I know you were talking about the first Battlefront. I didn't know there was anything else you were saying with that.
Well, besides Renvar, there was a Yavin 4 map. I don't know if you remember it. It's not it doesn't have the temple. It's almost like an arena map. And I remember that one just being so hard for me. I don't know.
That's the one that like you would go down the hill, and
Yeah.
there was like the ruins of like the arena area
Yep.
thing.
And
Yeah.
then, yeah, I think there was 2 separate posts or whatever, command posts on each
posts.
side, and then there was one in the middle and like one up in the I always call it
like
the
a-
sniper box, but
Yeah.
it was like, yeah, it was really hard to get the center one, and whoever got that first is almost always won.
I feel like that's interesting because you mentioned that. I think, weirdly enough, there might be a part of me that has more fun playing the first Battlefront, just because it's so much different
Yep.
than the second one in regards to how some of those maps work and even some of the
Right.
mechanics.
Yeah, I think there's a few of the maps, like Renvar, the ice caves in there, and then Cloud City with the bridge that connects the 2 different.
Wars were fought there for ages. Instant action. But I'm trying to dwindle them out. You go back, killed. Grenade, or thermal detonator. It just like
Yep.
you. But I love that map too because you could jump in like the X-wing or like the Cloud car, and man, yeah, the nostalgia is hitting heavy right now. Like that's hype.
Yep.
You know, I think about this and like the hype of that. Also, those makes me think of like other PS2 games that have gotten remastered. I think they even, I'm pretty sure they did. Yeah, because I think I've played it before. They did that remaster for like Bounty Hunter with Jango Fett, and
Right.
so I think to my head it's a good segue into the like some of like the more rumor mill / like not officially announced like Lucasfilm stuff with Respawn doing a bounty hunter game.
Yeah.
And so like have you done everything inside Jedi Survivor?
I don't know the official percentage, but I feel like I'm somewhere between 95 and 100. But
Okay. So it's interesting seeing Respawn do this stuff now with the bounty hunter game because it sounds like it's supposed to be like a Mandalorian bounty hunter, but maybe not Din Djarin.
Gotcha.
Sounds like it could be like Boba Fett. It could be like someone, but you have the option. I think it's like in first person, and you have the option. You're going around hunting down bounties on different planets, and you have the option to bring them in warm, bring them in cold,
Dang.
and like that just sounds dope. And like I haven't read too much deeper into it because I've gotten used to like getting told that something's coming, and then it not come, and then I get kind of disappointed. I get a little sad. So I'd rather just wait for like an official Lucasfilm announcement because even in the situation where like those two fall apart, I'm willing to allow my excitement to grow at that point because it's like, well, it should come at some point. It should work out.
Right.
But like, yeah, like that just like something that seems like super exciting to me.
Yeah. I think since I played my first Star Wars game, which would have been Pod Racer, I always dreamed of a bounty hunter game, and there was the original bounty hunter game, but for some reason I could never get into that one. But I think
It's hard.
it is very
It was,
hard.
I mean, especially as a kid, I remember there's just parts of levels where you get told, well, you gotta go and find your jetpack. Well, where is it?
Right.
Like, okay, yeah, I get it. I don't have my jetpack. I'm double jumping with Jango Fett with dual wielding. This is cool. Where's my jetpack at though? And then you finally go like and find it, but it's in like the most weird place. And then it's like the way that map is built is you're going around and you're like, I don't know where I'm going. I know I've just chased this one person this way,
Yep.
but now I'm stuck.
Yep.
Oops, I don't know.
I went back and played it like last year, and I still was getting lost. I thought maybe, oh, I'm an adult now. I can outthink this game, and nope, no, I was getting stuck. So
Yeah, it's some games I feel like it's just funny because you think back on it, you just go, this game was really complicated. And it's but then I remember I've live streamed that game a couple times, and people are like, bro. I'm like, what you mean? Well, where are you supposed to go? I'm like, y'all look at the same game I'm looking at, right? Why are you asking me? I don't know. You seen I've run around this map 5 times right now. Well, you're supposed to go this way. Yeah, I seen that. I look at the tutorial right now. Clearly he goes there. And I'm jumping, but he ain't jumping the same as the video is jumping.
Right.
Maybe I need to restart it. Take the disc out, blow on it, put it back. Oh, it's not the same thing. But like, yeah, I too have always wanted to have because I at one point in time thought like a cool battle royale game would be as like your bounty hunters and you're hunting, and instead of like you're eliminating people to eliminate other teams, you're eliminating other bounty hunting groups that are going after like maybe if like it could be like thing like where you find the one big bounty that you're looking for.
Yeah.
That could be a game of like you could win instantly that way, or alternatively, you're a bunch of bounty hunters all going after each other, and as you kill the other teams, they become a part of your team. So then now you're killing the other teams, and then at some point, if you are the last one standing, then yeah, you either win one of 2 ways. You either can eliminate the most teams and bring them to into your guild,
Right.
or you can eliminate and then take. You can eliminate all. You can eliminate their, or you can like avoid the bounty
Right.
and escape the planet. So like one of those 2 options would be interesting, but you have to see how you would build it out. But I think it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think any game, something along those lines, but set in Coruscant. I mean, we need an open world Coruscant game, just a huge map that we can just have so many
13
exactly.
tries somewhere.
RIP.
But that would be, it'd be interesting. I feel like Respawn, if it's a bounty hunter game, or if it's a bounty hunting type game, but it does feature a Mandalorian, and that Mandalorian's being Boba Fett, I feel like it's 1313 revived.
Yeah.
Like that's how I look at it. Like,
Right.
because I guess there's Wanted, right? Or is it Hunters? Hunters is the Switch game that's coming. That's like been in beta / it's not in beta other places. It's a really weird circumstance with that.
Yep.
But there's the game that's coming out that's open world that's from Ubisoft.
Yeah.
That's not called Hunters, but it's called Outlaws.
Outlaws. Yeah. Yeah.
That looks like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that like gives a similar feel to it.
Yep. Yeah, I think the vibe I'm getting is that you're not necessarily like with a game like Jedi Fallen Order or Survivor, you're Cal Kestis and you have to be like, the good guy that saves the day. But I feel like from what I've seen with Outlaws so far is like you're not necessarily a good guy or
Right.
something. You're just trying to make your way in the galaxy.
Yeah, simple man, trying to make, or simple woman trying to make their way in a galaxy.
Yeah.
Or the droid that's a commando battle droid.
Yeah.
Like
That's very cool.
yeah,
concept.
it's set between Empire and Jedi. So I think it's also an interesting time period because like I can't remember if that's like about like a year's worth of time at most.
Right.
And so especially like in canon, all the different stuff they've had to happen in that era too is really interesting for how like that dynamic of things would be with the other crime syndicates and stuff like that. So like I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to whatever they end up doing with this new game. Respawn has done great with the Survivor game or with the Jedi games.
Right.
So to have something else in the pipeline is exciting.
Yep.
And we just need more Star Wars games in general. Like we'll never get back to the golden era of like LucasArts. I don't think.
Yeah.
It is weird at Disney. Like it's like video games is such a vibrant market. It's like when you guys have shut down games too as often. But I can't remember. I swore I read somewhere that LucasArts was already in the process of probably getting shut down even before the Disney acquisition happened. So I mean it's kind of hit or miss. But I mean they've created some bangers. I'm curious to see if we'll ever get a Force Unleashed remaster.
Yeah.
Because they were talking about doing that Knights of the Old Republic one, but I don't know if we'll see that. I still think that if they were to do a Knights of the Old Republic remaster, it would be more interesting if it was brand new game called Knights of the Republic that utilized elements from the originals, but made like the new canon version of it.
Yeah.
Because I think that'd just be cool, and it would be nice to see how that stuff works and ties in, especially like how like some of the High Republic stuff is, and just the ways the Star Wars timelines has worked over the last like handful of years since that Disney acquisition has been interesting. And it's funny because we say that though, but Disney's owned Star Wars now for over 10 years.
That's wild.
Yeah, like when you think about it, you go, wow. Because I remember we were in high school.
Yeah.
And I can remember one of my buddies, I think it was Joe. Joe, if you're watching this, I just put out your whole name. Hope they don't, you or something. That's horrible. See, I'm gonna cancel though. So anyway, Joe, I patrol government out there, but I'll bleep it out. You were the one that texted me right as I was coming out of like I think it was basketball conditioning, and being like, did you see this? And I was like, I had just saw something like a Facebook notification. I'm like, this isn't real. And he texted, and I saw the video. I was like, yo, okay, so we're getting 7, 8, and 9. And we got 7, 8, and 9, all right.
Yeah.
I enjoy elements, I love me some Star Wars. But let's moving on. I think going along with like the Knights of the Republic stuff and the High Republic, the Acolyte. That we were talking about that before we start recording. What was the date? Like June 9th or something like that's the rumored date.
June 5th.
June 5th.
Yeah, with another, and I don't know if it's been confirmed yet or not, but with Michael Abels composing the score, and he did Us and Get Out.
Yes.
And stuff,
Yeah.
and Jordan Peele and stuff. So
I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
I'm hesitant to think that it will be the actual release date yet, just because I'd like to be cautious about those sorts of things, but it's looking like it's going to be really good. And I'm also excited to have a piece of Star Wars media that's before any of the current stuff.
Right.
I guess technically the I almost call it the High Republic Adventures. But that's not it. It's the show that Ethan's worked on, the kids show. I forget the name of it.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties, stand by. Young Jedi Adventures. I didn't forget it. I didn't forget it at all. I will say every time I do think of that name, it makes me think of there was some Legends books called the Young Jedi Knights. That's about Jason and Jaina Solo and like Lobaka, which is like Chewbacca's nephew, and some other characters. Good books, really, really good books. But I hear this show name and I just go like, it just switches around. Yeah. But that, I guess, technically is the furthest back in the timeline, visual show media-wise. Yeah. But to have live-action Acolyte in the High Republic era, I think, have you seen any of the other stuff about what's going to be in that show?
Honestly, no, I've been
avoiding it. Okay, so
I want to be totally spoiler-free going in.
I won't say anything because there's some stuff, though, that is going to go off. Because I've seen the leaked trailer from Celebration 23, I think.
Oh, right, yeah. I guess I did see that.
Okay,
I saw
did you
that
see one of the characters that's going to be in it? That's from the people, like, that's a familiar name from the High Republic that isn't Yoda.
I've not off the top of my head. But,
okay, because
you could say it because I have seen
Vanessa
it. Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, that's the thing that like I think is just really kind of interesting because like you look at all the stuff happening in the High Republic and you go like, okay, which characters are going to survive and what happens to them? But Vanessa Rowe's still around. She's doing her thing and she's going to be in live action.
Interesting.
That's pretty dope. And she's going to be in live action. My thought goes, she has a light whip.
Yeah.
So you have to show the light whip in live action. Oof. Like if you don't, like what are we here for, bro? Right. Like you brought this character in. Okay. Hey, wait, this is perfect.
I feel like that's got to be the only reason she's in there. You know,
I can kind of relate to that.
I mean, they always got to bring in something cool. You know, they made up the Inquisitors just so they can have the helicopter blade. Right. So you know, it's just.
I still wish we would have seen them use the helicopter blades in Kenobi, just because I would have loved to see people be so upset. They'd be like, this doesn't work. I'm like, it's going to be working right now. It's the Force powered, you know? Yeah, but the Acolyte is just looking like it's going to be good.
Yeah.
And I'm excited just to see what that story's like. I think it's going to be an 8-episode season, too.
Oh.
And yeah, composing wise, like I'm always interested to see how different people compose for Star Wars. Because I think, like, it's funny, Kevin Kiner, like, he's done like the Clone Wars and Rebels and Ahsoka. Especially his Ahsoka score and stuff, it just feels very much like classic Star Wars. And then you have, like, I think good classic Star Wars imitations, like with who did Rogue One? It was Michael. His last name starts with a G.
Yeah.
His Rogue One score, I feel like is really good. It feels like a classic Star Wars score.
Right.
And then, like, Mandalorian though has its own sound to it.
Yes.
Solo is somewhere in the middle between, like, the Rogue One and well, I put Rogue One and Andor because it's very similar. I put Solo somewhere over here, music-wise. Because the music isn't bad, but it's just like it has that new score, the new Han Solo theme from John Williams, which I do find cool because he came back to do that score and that theme.
Yeah.
He did the Kenobi theme for Kenobi series. The Kenobi score, I think, could have been elevated a little bit more for me. So maybe I put Solos a little bit above that.
Yeah.
But, so I'm excited, man. Like, there's a lot of good stuff coming out and a lot of things I think to be excited about. Like, I say this all the time, like, people can hate the Disney acquisition or they cannot, but I feel like we really get a lot of great content. I think there's a lot of great stories being told, even if those stories don't always connect with everyone. But I don't think every story is meant to connect with everyone. I think, you're supposed to take different things out of it, enjoy it, and like certain aspects and not. And that's, I think, the beauty of having so much Star Wars media to consume, that you get a lot of different options with stuff, which is great.
I think the best part of Disney buying Star Wars is that we're not starving. We have so much content.
Yes.
Not all of it hits, but I even Rise of Skywalker, Last Jedi, all of those, even all of those have had something that I enjoy in Star Wars. And at the end of the day, like, it has me feeling good after watching it, just because it's Star Wars. I just love seeing, hearing, playing more of the Star Wars story. Anything that gets me into that galaxy, I'm there for it.
I've yet to have anything that I think so egregiously is against the rest of Star Wars. Even I think Rise of Skywalker is my most, like, begrudgingly, like, enjoyed thing. But, like, I think I say this all the time. When I'm watching Rise of Skywalker, I'm enjoying that film pretty much all the way up until they get to Exegol there at the end. And then even stuff on Exegol I enjoy, but there's parts of me that just feels like it could have just went like a little bit further. It could have went a little bit further this way or that way. But that's like a thing of taste, and that's like, if let's say if I had directed it and it's something that I went further with, some people might not have liked that, So it's 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. I think at some point, But like you said, Star Wars stuff, and that continues the story and that deepens the mythos in any way, I'm here for. Like, I am still excited to see, like, the new Jedi Order movie with Rey. Even if that comes out before The Mandalorian and Grogu or not, which, just side note, they really need to name that something else. I love Favreau, Filoni, would love to work with y'all someday, truthfully. But, like, I would want to know what is the thought process behind just naming it that. Is it because you want people to know and be able to feel like they can just step into it, or what? Because, like, I like the title Rogue One. Solo's a little on the nose. And since then, everything title-wise, except for Rise of Skywalker, has been on the nose. And, Andor, I think, works. Ahsoka does work, but I also think you could name it something else. But that's just like a nitpick thing. Let's get into books, though.
Okay.
So tell us, because I have read this book a long time ago, so I want you to start, because I'm not done with this one yet. But so you finally finished Mr. Devil Vision himself, Thrawn Alliances. And you read, and this was the novel of it, because there's a comic that's coming out, adaptation that's coming out right now. So it's not, he didn't finish the comic, he finished the actual novel. So what did you think overall?
Of all of the Thrawn books, I'm reading them chronologically, so starting with the
Ascendancy trilogy.
The Ascendancy trilogy. Those 3, and then Thrawn, just regular Thrawn. I was there for it. I was enthralled in all of them. But for some reason, it took me forever to get through Alliances, and I don't know why. If you beforehand like told me what each book was about, synopsis, I would probably say the one with Anakin and Darth Vader is going to be my favorite. I mean, there's
Right.
no chance it's not. But for some reason, the story just wasn't hitting. But overall, it was good. I enjoyed it. Yeah, the whole double vision thing. I mean,
It just happens so often.
it did.
And part of me, like, it never happens during any of the Vader parts, right?
No, it does, because it happens when he is doing the skywalking, or he's doing hyperspace
Yes,
or whatever.
that's right. It
Yeah,
does
double
happen then.
vision. I'm coming up into a white dwarf straight ahead. So
I'm just hearing James Earl Jones say double vision now. I don't know what to think.
shout out to Mark Thompson, though. He is my favorite voice actor of any audiobooks or whatever. He does Thrawn so well. He does Marchion Ro so well. He I think is responsible for making Marchion Ro one of my favorite Star Wars characters.
Yeah, you talked up to me about that, and like I'll talk about that when I talk about Rise of Storm a little bit, but like I fully agree, because it is just like, it's crazy how unique the voice is, and Mark Thompson, I think, is just fantastic. I will say with Alliances, the thing that I remember is that I think a part of me really liked it because I enjoyed, and spoilers potentially abound, but I enjoyed like seeing Thrawn interact with Anakin and then also Padme.
Right.
And even like R2 and stuff, and it's during a period in Anakin's life where it's post Ahsoka leaving the Jedi Order. And so I just think that Anakin, it's really weird. Like, I'm usually the person, people are like, well, man, we need a Vader film, or we need more Anakin. It's like, we have so much. We have so much. But I'm never not happy to get more Anakin.
Yep.
And so for me, I think the Anakin that I want more of is between episodes 1 and 2. And then Anakin between the end of the Clone Wars and when Ahsoka's left.
Right.
Because I think it's such a unique period in Anakin's life to write about, even though it doesn't last super long.
Right.
But like, I talk about all the time with you, that Utapau arc that was supposed to be done in the Clone Wars.
Crystal
And the
Crisis.
conversation,
Yeah, yep.
And the conversation between Obi-Wan and Anakin is one of my favorite pieces of Star Wars dialogue that's been written, because I just think it's so interesting, because it shows the turmoil where he's at. And I think when you even mix that with what we do now have for season 7, like even like in the Bad Batch arc, when Obi-Wan says like, well, at least I hope you told, Padme hi, for me. It's like that brotherly bond for the two of them is shown so much more, which I think just like helps a lot.
Yep.
And so Alliances, I have some fun with it. I had some fun with it when I read it. I remember, though, I don't feel like I was super encouraged to jump into Treason, because at the point that I read Alliances, Treason was out.
Okay.
But I still haven't read Treason. I've gone back and I read the first Ascendancy, Chaos Rising.
Yes.
Yeah, because Chaos Rising, Greater Good, Lesser Evil.
Yes.
So I read Chaos Rising and I finished that, and I really enjoyed that actually overall. Like I think that's probably one of the most like, that book could not be set in the Star Wars universe and it would be totally fine.
Right.
Which is, I think, a positive. For some people, that's a complaint.
Yeah.
But I really do enjoy having, Zahn write more Thrawn.
Yeah.
And it is good. I'm curious to see how I feel Treason rounds out that trilogy.
Yeah.
Because I will go back to Treason at some point. I'm trying to get caught up on High Republic, and then I want to go back and finish the Ascendancy trilogy, and then finish the first canon Thrawn trilogy. Because I also, in the meantime, between Chaos Rising and starting the Rising Storm, I read Dark Disciple.
Oh, right.
Which, I mean, if I were to briefly say anything about it, I think it's like, I found that to be one of my favorite book/audiobook experience I've had in a very long time. But I think it's because those characters are so well realized based off the writing that Katie Lucas had done for the scripts for that Dark Disciple story arc.
Right.
And then Christy Golden adapted it so well into the novel form that just like it felt like episodes of the Clone Wars on the page.
Right.
And so I felt really pulled back into that era immediately, and it was really good. But yeah.
Yeah, I do. I mean, yeah, we're getting off into Dark Disciple, but Asajj Ventress, I've always found such an interesting character because, she's not Sith.
Right.
With the whole rule of two, Dooku, she's Dooku's assassin, but like, she has so much more potential to be more, And then I felt that in Clone Wars, she's always kind of wasted as, a side character. I think she could be so much more. And then, but Dark Disciple, reading that, getting more of her story, I just absolutely love that. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And supposedly we'll see more with the Bad Batch, which we'll cover here at the very end. I'll be brief about Rising Storm because I'm only about 100 pages into it, and this is like, what, a little bit over 400? Really enjoying it more than I thought I would so far because Light of the Jedi was really good. I felt Light of the Jedi did a really great job establishing the High Republic era, and I loved how like you got right into the thick of it with the Great Disaster, disaster, and all the stuff that was happening there.
Right.
But you were hopping around with all these different Jedi, and it was hard to kind of know who these different characters were and what makes them tick and who they are. But the coolest thing I thought was like how all the different Jedi see the Force. You have Avar Kriss who sees it as like a song.
Yep.
I always remember Avar Kriss is how she sees it. I don't always remember how everyone else sees it. Isn't
Elzar Mann, I believe, sees it as an ocean.
Thank you. Yep, because that was supposed to say. I think that's the only other one that like I have an inkling of in my head.
Yeah.
And so like stuff like that, super cool.
Right.
But you go into the Rising Storm, and I feel like you have these characters so well established to some degree, and now you're getting snippets of each of them, and so you understand who they are to some degree and why they're operating the way they are and what's going on here and there. And then I'm even reading the Marvel comic right now, and so getting to see what Avar Kriss is up to during the start of the Rising Storm at the very least, or right before it is good, in between that and the end of Light of the Jedi.
Yep.
And I've also read, is it Out of Darkness or Into the Shadows? I forget what the junior novels are.
Yeah.
And then there's the younger readers, like the middle grade ones, and that was into the Darkness or into.
I think so.
Yeah, and that was the one dealing with the
Drengir.
yeah, the Drengir.
Yeah.
And that book is essential to read, I think, to have much more appreciation for what's happening in the Marvel comic, especially.
Yeah, right.
Because
100%, yeah.
otherwise it's like, what's this? This plants, where is this? Where do they come from? And it's like, oh, they came from, oh. Which also I find interesting too, because them as like a plant-like species makes me think of like the Yuuzhan Vong and how they would use to like terraform planets and their connection with like nature and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's neither here nor there, but it's another side thing. But so far, like I'm enjoying like the Rising Storm. I think it's going to be a good read. And I'm looking forward to like just getting further into the High Republic.
Right.
But the thing I'm really looking forward to getting more into is the Bad Batch,
Yes.
because those first 3 episodes, surprised at how the 3rd episode ended, to be honest.
Yeah.
But man, I just feel like this season's gonna like really hit.
Yeah.
Do we want to tackle them in order of each episode individually, or do we want to just kind of go like just streamline thought about the premiere overall?
We can go in order.
Okay.
I think proper way to do it. Yeah. The first episode, Confined, I believe it was the name.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, having a whole episode of her, Omega, in prison, I think it was nice seeing her hair grow out. Her mood kind of changes. She's not as upbeat after like the
Not
first
as
scene.
hopeful.
Yep. I thought that was very interesting. And they brought up Betcher or whatever,
Oh,
the
yeah.
little dog thing. I was like, oh, we got another character we got care about, a little dog thing, But I already care about the Gonk droid. It was Gonky or whatever,
Right.
There's only so many side characters I can care about, but I thought it was very nice seeing Omega, care for this lesser being. It's even when she's in prison, she's taking some of her food and giving it to it.
Very much in nature of her and her character.
Yep,
And also,
exactly.
I gave up on the hood thing. My hair's messed up, and anyone sees it, it is what it is, dog. It's been a long day, man. It's been a long fight. I gotta have a warrior spirit. Okay, and something I want to ask you about if you did, because I did it. Did you ever pause the episode and count how many hash marks she put on her window?
I did not know.
I did because I was obsessed with knowing how much time is she there before the batch comes to get her, and it would. By the time of the end of the episode, it's been at least 5 monts because it was I counted the first row and then just multiplied it by the other I think it was like 5 more rows or whatever.
Right.
And that just really hit me because I was just like, damn.
Yeah.
And I know that is killing you on the inside. It's like, well, are they even actually coming for me? But she doesn't lose the faith.
Right.
And and even it's interesting because some people I saw online were mad, Crosshair's being so mean to her and X, Y, and Z. I'm like, Crosshair's trying to be mean to her so that she does leave him and doesn't worry about him because he doesn't want her to.
Right,
He's trying to protect her from a place of scaring her away.
Right.
But it's not going to work because it's Omega,
Yeah.
And it's just their dynamic and relationship I think is so interesting, and I do love that no matter how much he tries to tell her hey don't come to rescue me, she's like, yeah, all right, I'm gonna do whatever I want.
Yeah. He's a very interesting character because I think he does. It's crazy seeing how resigned to his fate he is now. He's just so beaten down because when he first got there, he was kind of stinging it to the man, disobeying orders and stuff. But now he's been there for a while. He's like whatever. I'm just gonna lay down looking at the ceiling here. And,
Yeah, I'm gonna accept my fate and let it
it's
go and let it be what it is.
Yep. Yeah, but I like his character arc so far. Going from good guy to, the bad guy in the first season, and then second season he's just kind of, we see his character growth of maybe the Empire's not all that, all that great.
Well, when you
Ultimate
see that
Order,
Cody walks away,
Yeah.
it's like, dog, you should have.
Yep.
That man committed Order 66. You should have left.
Yeah.
I think the other thing I liked too about that episode though was we don't see it in that episode, and we technically don't see it at all. But as soon as I saw them going into the basement, I was like, yeah, it's got some clones down there, don't it?
Yeah.
No, look at all these Republic commandos guarding this, or
Yeah.
Imperial commandos, sorry, guarding this. Yeah, that don't probably look too good, man.
Yeah.
And as soon as she was kept on throwing away Omega's blood, I was like, yeah. And they start talking about an M count. It's like, you can say midichlorian. Say it, because we know what you're talking about. And I didn't recognize this until I saw today, on Twitter. But the graph that is on the data pad is the same midichlorian graph from the Phantom Menace when Obi-Wan is looking at that.
I thought I saw that somewhere. I thought it looked familiar, but yeah, okay, that would make sense.
I was like, okay, yeah, it's cool. But so it's crazy because I haven't read Shadow of the Sith, but Shadow of the Sith really ties in the Rise of Skywalker details and stuff there with that. And some people are saying, I don't like how the Bad Batch is focusing so much on a single plot point from Rise of Skywalker. I'm like, folks, as much as somehow Palpatine returned is an interesting line choice to say the least. When you dig into it, and I already know if my buddy Chris is gonna watch this and gonna say you shill. Let me hoop, Chris. Just let me spit for us. Let me cook.
Let him cook.
The somehow Palpatine return line makes sense for the characters because they don't necessarily know how he returned, but it is the fact that Palpatine, since Revenge of the Sith, he's talking to Anakin about finding ways to manipulate life and how Anakin potentially, I might have had a role to play in that to somehow, shape, or form, or my master did.
Yep.
And it's impossible to learn his powers not from a Jedi. It's how do we figure out, because Palpatine wants to figure out how to rule forever. It's about
Yeah.
securing the future of the Empire.
Right.
And so I think it's really cool to get to see this now because I think it is a huge part of the story. And especially when you look at like, you know, you want to talk about Star Wars storytelling being told across multiple different plot threads and time. Right. You have this happening in Bad Batch, which is, you know, Galactic Empire era, you know,
Right.
before the Galactic Civil War. And then you have post-Galactic Civil War in The Mandalorian.
Right.
And you have what eventually gets to be Snoke.
Right.
One of those, I'm jumping ahead to the third episode a little bit, but like, and we can jump back to the second one. But one of those containers down there has to be a Snoke.
Yeah.
And one of them has to be a, I can't remember what his name is, but it's who eventually becomes like Rey's father, which I think is like Dathan or something like that. And that's from the Rise of Sky. I'm sorry, that's from the Shadow of the Sith novel.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But that stuff being said, it's like, you know, I think it's good to see this, and like, again, I think additional Star Wars media is supposed to help prop up the rest of the storytelling pieces that the films might brush right past.
Right.
That when the films brush right past it, yeah, you know, you may be like, well, this is annoying, I don't like this, but like, it's still, if you're ingrained in the story, it still is explained somewhere, somehow, or even makes, even if it's not, even, I think sometimes it's explained enough in the film, but now we have more context, which makes you like and understand more what's going on and what's happened.
Yeah, I think all of these shows, like The Bad Batch and The Mandalorian, with all the cloning stuff, is doing for the sequel trilogy what Clone Wars did for the prequel trilogy of kind of, like I remember when Grievous first came on the scene, like everyone was like, who's this guy? All of a sudden, like there's this new character leading the, you know, who is this guy?
Right.
And then you get all this backstory with all Grievous's episodes, and there's just so much more backstory. And I think now, just since I first got online reading about all the blogs of how the prequels, you know, were the worst thing that ever happened to Star Wars, and now we have all of this content that happened in the Clone Wars that kind of beefed up the canon, and I really think now this, you know, prequels might catch some heat from some old heads, but I think the prequels are seen in a better light than a lot of.
Yeah, hearing you.
No,
it's okay.
No, I mean.
No, go ahead, Greedo.
If you.
Don't worry about it. I ain't gonna shoot first. Don't worry about it.
If you
I'm just gonna see
go
your boss
on
job, I got the money.
Reddit or any of the Star Wars memes or anything, I think because sequels are so bad that people see the prequels in such a good light nowadays that a lot of the people who are online right now grew up with the prequels. And I think they see it in such a good light that I think the original trilogy might be getting overshadowed a little bit. I'm not saying prequels are better.
Right, no, I hear you. It's
I'm
better to
just
give you
saying,
grief. It's better to give you grief. My
yeah.
Adidas Originals, the original trilogy, has some words for that.
Right.
But I will say, it's funny. There's a guy, I think I told you this a couple of days ago. There's a guy I play basketball with every Saturday morning, and he's a big Star Wars fan. And he was saying to me that, like, once Bad Batch gets done, he's like, please can we be done with the prequels? Enough. Move to a different timeline section. Move, please. No more clones.
Yep.
No more this. And I looked at him, I said, you look like a hater, dog. I said, why you hating, big fella? How you gonna hate from outside the club if you can't even get in? But I think that, you're right. Like, there's just a lot of stuff that's there and it fleshes out a lot. But I also think too, there's this part of it that the existence of the clones as a whole, and the Clone Wars has such huge galactic ramifications for everything past it.
Right.
Because it truly does make a huge difference in how the galaxy is and how it's shaped. Because the problem is that when the Empire takes over the galaxy at the end forget some politics, at least in my opinion.
Right.
When the Empire takes over at the end of the Clone Wars, it doesn't fix any of the issues why the planets separated from the Republic in the first place.
Right.
The independent systems want to be that independent, and that didn't get to happen. And then now they're under a galactic empire that is not good for them at all, and it's self-serving and it's enforcing fear, all these other things. The rebellion against the Empire happens. They defeat the Empire. The New Republic comes in again, and so now again, though, you still have these planets that maybe are like, well, I mean, you are better than the Empire, but I don't like either of you.
Right.
And so I think
Still got
that's
the bureaucracy and everything, you know?
exactly. So I think what that ends up leading to is it leads to more issues for the, for not just like the Empire, but it's not for the Empire, but it leads to more issues within the galaxy as a whole. Then spreads into the second, however you want to look at it, the rise of the First Order, however you want to look at that period of time. Because then now some of those planets that did willing to separate from the Republic, who also didn't want to be with the Empire, and you have all this other mixtures. They are willing to join the First Order or help hide the First Order and let it rise up in the shadows. And so I think truly, come New Jedi Order, it will be 10 years post Rise of Skywalker, but I think we'll see a new form of what the galaxy is like. In Legends, it was interesting how the New Republic did fall, and eventually they made it was the Galactic Alliance, is what I think they called it.
Right.
Is what happened post New Republic. And so it's all these different changes and stuff that can happen, I think, are interesting. I'd be curious to see how they all kind of come to fruition. But that, I think, is why shows like The Bad Batch, and even stuff like you could argue like Mandalorian, of course, but even like I think some elements of Andor are really important to understand how the galaxy gets to where it is.
Yeah.
Because that's something we could talk about another time. But I talked with you about it, some before. But like I have this whole thing about how Andor, no offense to Mon Mothma, but as canon currently sits, the New Republic starts to demilitarize at some point.
Right.
And that's Mon Mothma's choice. And as the Chancellor. And my whole thing, though, is like, let's say if Luthen Rael had been alive, I don't think that man would have demilitarized anything.
Yeah.
He would have been staying on business, being like, now they might come back. If I'm being honest, we should chase them out there. They went to the unknown regions. We got Jedi, don't they? Yeah. We got Jedi, right? We can find them. They can do that little force thing and they can navigate. We'll figure it out. We will chart new courses in this galaxy and eliminate any threat, But like, that's a difference.
Double vision.
See, it just always comes back around to it. But like, yeah, I'm going off on a tangent. So like, I think to kind of pull myself back in and to jump back. Let's go to the second episode.
Yes.
The second episode opens up and I think is a reminder as to why no episode is filler.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I can't remember exactly which episode it was that those characters were involved, but they came back around to be important to giving them information that then leads them to the previous base that Hemlock was at.
Right.
And yeah, I want to hear, we were talking about this a little bit before we got onto this topic, but I want to hear your thought about the Drengir in regards to that episode, because I think we have the same thought.
Yeah, so I think every science experiment that the Empire puts on, that, the Emperor wants, he always orders all these things for a reason. We still haven't seen what the Zillo Beast comes to, but, I feel like he draws inspiration from past things, and I think all the stuff we saw in the High Republic with the Drengir, I think is what led to the Empire creating this vine monster with a huge mouth and everything. I feel like it has to be linked.
I had the same thought because I was sitting there looking at it. I'm like, it would make a lot of sense, because the other thing too, I think the main thought I have about a lot of these experiments all somehow involve the Force and midichlorians.
Right.
Because even the Zillo Beast is resilient to Kyber crystals.
Right.
And resilient to lightsabers. So I think that makes sense as an anti-Jedi deterrent. And then you look at the Drengir and how they're able to, like, they continually can grow. You cut them and the vines aren't dead.
Yeah.
It just makes too much sense. And it would make sense too that if the Empire now has control of the entire galaxy, and I can't remember exactly where it was in the High Republic comic book, where the Jedi just locked the Drengir away. As far as where I'm at in the High Republic, they just locked them away. They did not kill the Drengir. They just locked them away on a planet. The Jedi aren't around anymore to keep said lock in check.
Right.
So if he wanted to send a battalion of troopers to capture a Drengir, bring it to a secret base to study it and to study how the Force interacts with it and all that.
Yep.
It makes a lot of sense.
It does. Yeah.
Because I think he's trying to do anything to figure out how to make clones for himself.
Yeah.
Or to even just make an army of Force sensitive people.
Right.
I'm really more interested though to figure out. Well, before I jump into this, because I think we get to that, and then we can wrap up the whole rest of the episode. Because that second episode too, I did like that Daniel Logan voiced the oldest clone.
Yeah.
Because it made total sense of the clone cadets for him to voice the oldest one.
Right.
And I love seeing just their dynamic and their trust with one another and stuff like that.
Right.
And I think there's just a lot of good, like, just moments of showing, like, Hunter and his stress and strain. And the best part of that episode, honestly, is Hunter's little run he does. Did you notice that? When they end up, the first time they run, it's the vine creatures, and they go to run. Hunter does this weird, like run like this. It's so funny.
see that.
I will find the clip of it and screen record it and then re-edit and put it over this part of the video because, like, audio listeners that won't be able to see this, but like the way he's moving his hands, this big, like, kind of weird motion. It's just one of these goofy little things that they did animation wise. They're like, even like a couple seasons ago, I think there's a moment like where Echo like slipped or something at some point. The way he slipped and fell was just kind of funny too.
Yeah.
It just was good. It actually, best way to describe it for the audio listeners is it's like Jack Sparrow and Dead Man's Chest. Is that the second one? Or
Yes, yep.
yeah,
Yeah, that's the second
when
one.
he's running from the native people on that island,
Yeah.
and he's doing his like weird, like, it's kind of that type of vibes, which is hilarious.
That's great.
But yeah, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to say about the second one before I kind of go
Yeah.
into this overarching thought.
You were talking about how the ramifications of after the Clone Wars and everything, and until this episode, I didn't really ever think, we've seen like an Obi-Wan, like a live action clone, he's a bum on the streets or whatever, We've seen all this stuff with what's happened to adult clones, but I never even thought that, there's
Cadets.
these children clones that, what happens to them afterwards, is like.
And that they still probably are going to accelerate aging wise
Right,
too.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it is just, and that's one of the things I do like about the Bad Batch is exploring that a lot more. I'd be curious to see what it looks like by the end of the series.
Yeah.
The thing that I'm just thinking about overall is it's been hinted at ever since the first season that Omega has that she's like Force sensitive,
Right.
and so now to see that she has a higher M count.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to if that was an accident or if it was intentional.
Right.
And if so, how was it intentional?
Right.
Like, how did they manipulate to make a female? How did they manipulate the DNA anyway to make a female Jango clone?
Yeah.
And they've obviously made more than one because Emery,
Yeah,
right?
Emery, yeah.
And so it's just like, and I felt for Emery to some degree because, like, I love the fact that she gave Omega her doll back.
Yeah.
Like, and I love that she was caring for Omega, and she was even trying to care for Crosshair to some degree.
Yeah.
But she can only do so much, and she also doesn't have faith in the whole situation as it is.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's kind of sucks to see that. And at one point, I thought I saw other like female clones on that base, but I don't think there was.
Yeah, there's other female scientists walking through the halls
Right.
that kind of look like her, so I don't know if they are female clones, but
Yeah, so it's just kind of interesting. But like, I'm curious to find out how did Omega, like, why is she the one that has the higher M count?
right.
Was it by design? Was it not by design? And then, if so, how much more of her blood do they really need? And also, too, do they have, at what point does the Empire, does the Empire ever get Grogu? Because that's the other thing I'm thinking right now. Is it's like, well, I just feel like, is it the fact that like there's not a lot of Force sensitive children around anymore, or is it
Right.
the idea that like, well, we need someone of high Yoda's species, I think, are all probably high in their metachlorian count.
Yep.
So that stuff is just kind of interesting to like explore and think about
Yeah.
as like we move forward. And there's so much from the trailer technically that we still haven't seen yet. And I know that like big content creators got to see the first 8 episodes already, and some people have said that based off the first 8 episodes, this is the best animated Star Wars show as a whole, and that it's especially if it sticks to the landing. If it sticks to the landing in the last episodes,
Yeah.
then this is hands down the best.
Wow.
And that's exciting. That's a high bar to set because
is.
I think I would probably still give the Clone Wars like top of the bar, and then I think Rebels is very close behind it. And Bad Batch for me, that first season was really good. Second season of Bad Batch, it wasn't my favorite.
Yeah.
I felt like every week that I got a Crosshair episode, I was locked in.
Yeah.
But then otherwise, I was kind of like hit or miss here or there. But like,
Yeah, they spent too much time on that island, I think.
yeah, and like I think it was good, at least so because it really gave more time to treasure Tech before he was gone.
That's true.
But I also don't think he's gone. I feel like
Yeah.
there's that clone.
Yeah.
There's that clone from the trailer that I think is Tech, but I also think he was in the episode too. I feel like we saw him in this episode, but he wasn't called out.
Yeah.
He was just walking around, and there's a moment I think with him and Crosshair that I was like interesting, but like
I'd say if Game of Thrones taught me anything, no body, no death, you know.
I agree.
And even sometimes when you see a dead body like Jon Snow, then it
Still
can come back.
Well-
I mean, Palpatine came back.
Where's the
No
lie
one-
though? Where's the lie though?
No one's ever really gone.
I do like that line. That's the thing. Like, there's some good lines in those movies, guys. You can't, like, I can say I don't like it that much, but there's still some banger lines in it, guys. Like, it's still some good Star Wars content.
Yeah.
I think overall, great start to the season for Bad Batch. I'm really looking forward to seeing the rest of this season and exploring it more in depth. I think depending upon how frequently we do these videos or these podcasts too, if I really may have the time and can get up on it, I may do like individual episode like comment videos or short like reviews in between, so we can kind of talk and see how that kind of works out. But like I'm excited to see the rest of the season. I'm surprised that they escaped.
I am too. This early?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that I was expecting Crosshair to escape and Omega to get stuck there.
Yeah.
And so, and it just was weird so I feel like she's going to get captured again.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's just like,
Yeah.
but then like they're going to have to bring the full force of the clones. But there's so many things we've seen in the trailer already where it's like, I gotta see this character, I gotta see this character, I gotta see this character. So like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm looking forward to it though. Like it's going to be a good season. And if this is the last like Clone Wars adjacent era thing that we do for a while, I'm not going to be upset. I would love to see this animation done for like
No.
a Luke Jedi Order story or something.
Yeah.
But I also think you maybe give that some more time because of the Heirs to the Empire series and the Ahsoka season 2, and there's a lot of stuff there. So like maybe just give us some time. But
I'm thinking next place they go with this animation team is High Republic. I think
that would make a lot of sense.
yeah, I think because there's always younger characters in all of these, and I think the High Republic has a lot of young adult Padawan characters that they could center around.
If I was them, I would take the cast of Young Jedi Knights or Young Jedi Adventures, and I would put them in a animated show in the High Republic for once they get masters.
Yeah.
So like I forget some of the characters from that show,
Yeah.
but I think there's some good relationships that they could have with some of the High Republic Jedi, to where they become those Jedi's Padawans.
Yeah,
That would be genius.
that would be good. Yeah.
But I guess time will just tell,
Yeah.
at some point. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say about this episode before we wrap up.
I would say shout out to Jedi Survivor winning a Grammy. It was a great
Yes.
soundtrack. I thought, even while I was playing it, especially on Kobo, I mean, there's just so many good movements of, the orchestra in there that just hit so perfectly while you're playing it. It's fantastic.
I can fully agree with that. I remember at first I didn't realize that Jedi Survivor had won. I'm going through looking at the list. I'm like, God of War? Ragnarok didn't win? Are you kidding me? Survivor was very good. I'm okay with this. I will accept this. I apologize to Ragnarok, but I will accept this. Lando and Solo. I don't like it. I don't agree with it, but I'll accept it. That's good because it is the Jedi Survivor soundtrack is very good. But man, that God of War just, I don't know. I think it's too is sometimes because there's a part of me that like goes, I need something new. Mm-hmm. But it's like so again, like a lot of things, technology, guys. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it don't. So we're coming from my cell phone now, and as a little outro bit because I guess storage or something's causing us to have some issues. But had a lot of fun talking today. I think we got through a lot of Star Wars topics, and we discussed all different things we want to talk for today. We will hopefully be back here with the next week and a half to talk with you guys about more stuff, review more Bad Batch. Hopefully I'll be done with Rising Storm by then so we can kind of talk about that. And so Sean, thank you for joining me, my guy.
Of course.
And for the viewers that are out there watching, listening to the whole thing, really appreciate you guys. Until next time, peace. May the Force be with you, and we'll see you around later. Bye.
Double vision.
Double vision.